Streaming?
No, nobody's seen a thing, including me. Oh, so now something's happening. Maybe.
Maybe it's just slow.
Is it
I
really
don't know.
slow?
This is going to be a pretty awkward pause in the middle of the live stream if you tell me that it's not actually on there.
I'm just reading the chat. I queried. Oh well. No, it
Now it looks like we're
looks
on.
like we are live. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like we're on.
Hi, everybody. In any event, we're going to do a developer interview. We're going to ask a little bit of trivia. We'll perhaps play a little bit of Storm Wars in the background as we talk through these various points. Probably a short stream today, maybe just a couple trivia questions. We hope that you will join us in general in the future as we do more of these streams. This is probably the last stream in Series 1, which are all being archived on our YouTube channel. You can always watch them after the fact. We're going to start trying to involve other streamers and stream more, hopefully to a broader audience on some other channels as well. So we'll give you a clearer understanding and schedule of exactly what's going to happen when
That's
we
right.
know what that is. I'm currently reaching out to people and trying to figure out the schedule and moving offices actually. So there'll be a little bit of a pause as we set that all up, but we'll let you know what's happening and hopefully we'll.
It's also Christmas coming up, so that'll be a little bit of a wrench in everybody's
Could be,
planning.
but could also be a
But
good reason to expect a lot of new Christmas content, which is actually part of the reason that we are here today, is to talk a little bit in more substantive detail about what it is that is going to come.
so that's the first I hear of this, guys. I'm not in the know. So, George, what are you talking
Good
about?
throw.
My look of surprise was legitimate.
You seem legitimately surprised. All your beard hairs are standing on end. It's amazing. Well, uh, we have cards that are coming basically in an expansion. Uh, Several of them, probably, let's say at least 40 cards, is going to be my guess. And we are going to use those cards to properly award crew and tournament victories in a way that we haven't in the past. So essentially, we'll have the next version of crew rewards, and we'll probably revamp ever so slightly how crew rewards work. And then we'll have a set of cards which are accessible through winning tournaments. Whether
Hmm.
we have a specific separate pack of cards that sits in the shop for gems, the way most
Hmm.
expansions work, we're not 100% sure, but probably we'll have something like that. And there's a little bit of other new content that's coming, which I will perhaps leave to Giannis, also known as Storm, the game's
Okay.
developer, to talk about if he so desires
I
when he's
want to
interviewed
know
later on.
when I want to know when you plan to fix the Hylock dysfunction.
Yes, that is a good point. Are you saying that because I just fought him in the background here?
No, because no, because I want to use my a mech deck to counter people that defend with
Okay,
Hylock, and
so
I can't.
what he's
There's no
talking
point to
about,
doing that now.
oh God, what he's talking about in the background here is that currently in our metagame, there are 24 heroes. Currently in the metagame, Hylock, this guy right here, is the most popular, and the reason for that is because he has a fairly decent attack with Prismatic Ray. It's magic based, and it is very effective. But Hylock is actually not acting quite the way he should because Prismatic Ray is a little bit stronger than it should be. It's not. It will assign a random debuff to an enemy unit. However, if you have a unit that is immune to a certain type of debuff, Hylock will automatically assign a debuff you're not immune to. So in a sense, if you are immune to something, Hylock's even better against you because he will hit you with a debuff that will automatically hurt you, taking advantage of your weak point basically. And on top of that, the debuffs that are strongest, such as Paralyze, are the ones that basically nothing is immune to.
You'll get
So
yeah,
yeah, mechs should be good against Hylock because they're immune to most debuffs. In
and
fact, they're
and
weak
now they're
against
just
him.
not.
Yeah, because he just hits them with stun, and it's even worse. So we'll fix that. I don't know exactly when we'll fix that. Hopefully, we'll fix that soon. If you would like to pester our great leader about that
Well,
later on, you're welcome to.
When he comes on, I'm sure you guys will be my voice and convey my message.
I'm fighting Hylock in the background here, so you can see sort of what happens in a battle against him. I'd say if you guys have questions that you know you're going to want to ask Storm, let us know what they are in the chat. If you have questions for me, let us know in the chat. In terms of sort of examples of cards that may be to come and so on, and we will handle that. You can also ask things in the game chat, which I am monitoring.
Right. Yeah, we kind of were thinking to do to have this be a bit of a Q&A session and kind of take more questions from the chat, from the Twitch chat or any chat.
I already have a
And
list of questions as well that I've been compiling, so
oh,
we'll
you do?
get through some of those. But yes, but
Okay.
in the meantime,
Do you want to do a little bit of easy trivia, George, just to whet people's appetite?
shall we do one trivia question quickly
Yeah, we could do. I have a nice and easy one
for gold?
to for gold. Yeah, yeah.
JP,
This
please
should
ask
be.
your trivia question. The
And I
first,
think conversely, this will be easier for newer players and maybe more difficult for veteran players. We'll see. So the question
what's the
is.
prize and who are we giving it to?
Okay, fine. The first three people to answer correctly get 10,000 gold.
I can get behind that plan.
Okay. So
Type your answer into
the
the
easy,
Twitch chat. If you're one of the first three people, you will win 10,000 gold.
right. Don't forget to. Okay. So the question is, how many missions are in the campaign mode that you can do?
That is an easy question. How many different missions exist in Storm Wars, basically?
How many different missions in the campaign mode?
Okay, fair. Keep in mind that as we're gearing up this marketing push here, it would really help us if you guys would follow our Twitch channel, subscribe to it, and give us basically more followers as we try to get other streamers to join forces with us and help us host these streams. They're going to take our channel more seriously the more views and the more followers we have. So it will really, really help us market the game, get more players, and then have more content, and it'll be better for everyone. Everybody is asking about all this new stuff, and that's why we're doing this stream. The bottom line is the reason some of this stuff is delayed sometimes, and the thing that prevents us from doing more content is simply a matter of how many players do we have, can we justify the cost, and so on. So it just helps us to get more players. It's good for everyone. We're hoping that the mobile push will do that, and we rely on our community's help.
So there's some
Follow the
answers
channel.
in the stream in the chat. It wasn't as easy as I thought it would be. So so what is the correct answer,
I
George?
think, you're the trivia master this time, but I think the correct answer is 25.
The correct answer that I was thinking of is 25 because there are 25 discrete missions, which you can repeat 3 times. So the
Right.
25
Yeah, you get
missions,
3
you can get
stars on
75.
total stars, right?
Right, you can get 75 stars, but the right answer should be 25. I have 75 as an answer. I have 25, so people that said 25 are correct. I have 125 and 375 and 27. So so wait, was somebody laughing because of the
Well, the
27? Because I thought
27
it
is
was.
not a bad answer. 27 is if you think that the Endless Dungeon and the Colosseum count, but those aren't really missions. Those are
Uh,
mini games that are accessible on the map.
hmm. Although isn't the Colosseum a mission at first?
No,
Because you need to get past it to. No, don't you need to do the No,
you
you
don't
don't.
need to do the Colosseum at all. You mean to
To to
advance on the
to
campaign?
to
You
advance in the
don't. You need to
campaign.
beat the orcs that sit in the highlands there that are sort of near the Colosseum in order to eventually get over to the,
Okay.
uh,
Okay.
I think, over to the
Well,
island.
in that case, Captain Thunderwalker and Yubo are the winners. There is no third winner.
Really? Oh my goodness. Well, these
Yeah,
guys.
that was a harder. Sorry, maybe that was a crappy question. You guys
That's all
can
right. Give
can
27.
blame me.
We should give the person who said 27 prize as a runner-up. How's that?
All right. Dead King also gets it.
Okay. And guys, when you answer these questions, please make sure that you tell JP in the Twitch chat what your in-game name is, if it's in any way even one letter different from your Twitch name, because that way we'll know how to give you the prize properly.
Unless we already know, like Yubo and Captain Thunderwalker, I think we know who they are.
Fair enough. Don't assume we know,
Fair enough.
but fair enough. Otherwise, I'm just going to assume you're one of JP's alts and he's cheating. I mean, it's a pretty safe assumption at this point.
Uh,
Kempson 2? Who's this Kempson 2?
who's that? Is he's just a fan?
Yeah,
I
right.
mean, I don't. I have a following. I have a fan club, obviously.
Okay, well, goodness gracious. Let's perhaps just get into the QA section here. And again, guys, if you want to ask us any questions about the content that's to come or the really anything else in the game, you're welcome to do so. Maybe we'll take a couple quick questions off the bat, and then I'm going to invite Giannis to join the call. Giannis is the creator of Storm Wars. He's originally the creator of Warstorm, which created the genre, essentially. And if you would like to ask him anything on your mind, I hope you will do so.
All right. Well, yeah. Okay, guys. You said you had some questions already
I
lined
do have
up.
some questions already
George?
lined up, and most of them are really just asking us to spoil content and asking us what kind of cards are going to come in the expansion, specifically what mechanics and so on. So
Okay.
I spoke a little bit about this last time. One of the best mechanics, which was invented by a player on our forums, which, by the way, means if you guys are interested in contributing to the game, you should go over here to our forums, which I will open now so you can see them. You can see that here on our Congregate forums, we have card and game balance thread if you want to talk about card and game balance, feature requests and improvements, all these kinds of things. And we have this thread down here called New Card Ideas. And if you just contribute to this thread with some ideas, we actually take ideas directly from here frequently because we like to implement what players come up with. And one of the ideas that was put together in this thread by a player, which I thought was a great one, is an ability called Backstab, which basically means that if a creature is stealthed, it will deal double damage. Now, obviously, stealth is a pretty temporary ability as it is in the game right now because it's removed as soon as something is targeted. So we will also correspondingly have a lot more synergy around the concept of stealth, whether that means creatures that enter play, and when they enter play, they stealth other creatures as sort of a one-time thing, whether it means spells that stealth things, although we already have those, or whether it means, for example, a creature that continues to re-stealth itself, either on damage or on targeting or every round. So the sort of combination of those things with Backstab will, I think, create a new, let's say, potential strategy in the game, and that's something we're going to focus on.
What hero do you think that will synergize with well?
That's a really good question. Certainly it will synergize with Luther because Luther is defensive and he helps defend his creature. So anytime you have sort of stacked defense, Aegis, and then on top of the Aegis you have stealth, those creatures will be very hard to kill. I think that in general, stealth is very good for fast heroes, though, and Luther is not fast. So if you're using fast heroes and you have a lot of stealthy things, the problem with fast hero decks, the problem with beating them is they can swarm you very quickly, and things that swarm you very quickly often overwhelm you in the beginning of the game. If you have something stealthed, it takes one more hit basically to remove that thing, so it's much harder for you to catch up, at least in the beginning before you have most of your creatures out. That's why, for example, the High Elf Scout, which is a very fast stealth creature, is generally used in most of the rush decks that we have, in particular with Amariel. So I think there will be a lot of applications for it. I don't know that we'll necessarily have a new hero, but I don't want to get into too great detail, but we do have also, on top of all the cards, we do have some ideas about what we're going to do to really start making heroes more interesting. I think they're already very interesting, but we're going to be giving them a whole bunch of, let's say, extra punch. I don't really want to go into greater detail than that. We're still designing the content. Maybe Giannis will talk about it a little bit, but we'll stay tuned and we'll talk a little bit about that in the future. But suffice it to say that you'll be able to customize a little bit more how you use your heroes and maybe make up for some of their weaknesses and so on very soon. Anyway.
Okay.
So that's probably what I have to say about that. JP, do you have other things on your mind before I switch co-hosts here?
Well, the one question, which is kind of like a half question, in that it's not really like a fully formed sentence, is equipment question mark. So maybe that's just like trying to guess at what the enhancement is to the heroes.
Who's asking this question?
Harper Jeremy.
Interesting. Um, I don't know what to say to that, except maybe question mark. It's a pretty good guess. It's a pretty
Okay.
good guess. I could see us doing something like that, maybe. Um,
I mean, in general, do you think that an added level of customizability to your heroes, whether that means equipment or like giving them some type of buff, like whether that's like a temporary buff or a perma buff? I mean, is that something that you guys have thought
yeah.
about?
Well, look. I mean, we just recently increased the hero cap, and we changed the relationship between heroes, basically, in terms of who is strong in what area and who's weak in another area. And we didn't do that haphazardly. We thought long and hard about which of these heroes should have more hit points, which of them should have more cards, and that's because we're also about to introduce all of this ability to further customize your heroes. So they probably are a little bit out of balance right now, and they probably will become a little bit more in sync once we introduce that content. So that's an explanation, hopefully, for that. And I'd like to point out that people always ask, why did you do this to this hero? This hero is not good anymore. That hero is not good anymore. Our basic goal is to make all the heroes usable and fairly equivalent in terms of their strength. We want it to be a very horizontal game in the sense that any hero you choose, you can do something good with him. So you can always assume that if something is underused in the metagame, if something is currently very weak, we're probably going to try to make it a little bit better. And we do that by introducing new content and occasionally with a buff. We, of course, try to avoid nerfs. So just keep that in mind. Everybody's saying, do I unlock this hero, that hero? You usually can't go wrong with pretty much any hero. There will be a use for him. Anyway, I hope that's useful.
Well, I think interestingly enough, the cards that you have in to some extent will dictate which heroes you can use viably against specific other
That is true.
heroes.
Yeah, you do need the cards to create a deck
So
around some of these
if
guys.
I mean, like you can put together a Viona deck that fairly effectively can neutralize pretty much any Luther deck if you have the right cards in it. If you have enough cards with Retaliate, you have enough Dream Dust, and it works like 80-90% of the time. So that's a pretty good win condition. But you need to have the cards, otherwise it's not going to work. So
Okay, and that's maybe a good segue into another question, which people keep asking me: what's going to happen to the Dragon set? Given that most of the Retaliate cards, I think, in fact, all the Retaliate cards right now are in the Dragon set, which is our expansion. What's going to happen to this expansion when we have a new expansion? Now, there are a lot of different ways in which these things are handled. Sometimes the way card games handle them is the new expansion replaces the old expansion in terms of its slot in the store, and the old expansion becomes part of the basic set. Um, we have a fairly, let's say, segregated game in terms of premium cards and non-premium cards, and it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense necessarily for our expansions to become completely free in basic packs. I do think that when we have a serious expansion to replace the Dragon set, we will probably change the pricing a little bit on the Dragons pack, and it will probably be a little bit more accessible. So you can at least assume probably that as time goes, expansions will replace old in a certain sense. I don't necessarily think that the expansions are going to join the basic set. The basic set is fairly intact. We
okay,
just haven't made that decision yet. It might also have to do with the momentum of the game and how many players we have in it and how quickly new content is coming into it. It's not particularly viable for us to, have expansions only last a month or two before they become free if we don't have a lot of players that are in the system. That's really an economic question. Just be aware of
okay.
that, I guess. But we'll be. It's not that we don't want to be transparent; it's that we'll be transparent once we make the decision on how this works.
Speaking of transparency, there's a pretty good point from Jade Tower Defense in chat about the price hike on heroes, which actually I was a little bit surprised to see. I mean, it kind of blindsided me. So he's referring to the fact that the new heroes were 99
Sure.
gems, I believe, and now they're
Well, look,
150.
I mean, perception is stronger than reality. And the first thing I'll say is, look, we should have said something ahead of time, and I'm sorry about that. That's a perfectly fine point. In general, in the future, we will try to be, we'll announce these things ahead of time when there's a price hike. But let me be clear. First of all, that happened partly because there are a couple designers on this project, and we put a whole bunch of design together, and then we launched all of it at once, and we just kind of didn't think about each independent part. And it probably would have been up to me to say, oh, I probably am the person who should have announced that, and I wasn't aware that we were going to go with the price hike during the particular update that we did it in. So that's pretty much my fault, and it's a communication issue. But let's keep in mind why the price hike is there. It's there because we increased the hero cap from level 20 to level 30, which is 20 free gems per hero because you get 2 gems per level up. And that includes the free
Right.
heroes. So there are 12 free heroes, which you're automatically getting 240 gems for. So yes, it was a price hike, but unless you unlocked absolutely none of the premium heroes, you're probably gaining gems overall. That's part of the reason for the price hike. So if you just kind of think about it in a not negative way, you'll see that it's not really something that's costing players a lot in the long run.
Right. I think it was more like a communication thing, and
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 we
and
should
the
communicate
expanded
better.
the
Yeah.
expanded question was like, because people are hoarding gems or gold or honor or whatever currency the game has to offer. Hoarding can be like a good decision or a bad decision based on whether you have knowledge of what's coming up. So I think it was more like, are we going to
Okay.
have
Well, I
visibility to
I I,
what's coming?
I
So
promise that as we go forward, I will make sure that anything that affects your economics, like what you save and what you spend on, I will make sure that I give you an announcement at least a few days ahead of when you need to make your decisions. I promise that. That has to do with us as a team coordinating and communicating, and I think we have that down by now. So I will. You can call me out on that because I'm usually the person that announces things to the community in that sense. So perfectly good point. Anyhow, um, well, it's been fun, JP.
well, okay. Yubo follow up there is like, glad to know that it was a mistake. Can I now buy it at the old price? Since that's what I would have done if he'd given me the heads up.
Um,
That's on you, George. I can't answer that.
you Bo. I don't know what a bow is, but what a bow you are, you Bo. Uh, he's trying to use the bow of Cupid to charm me into saying yes. No, listen, no, you can't have it at the cheaper price. Sorry. Only because, you know, if you want to have something at a cheaper price, you've got to ask subtly behind the scenes so that it's not in a public forum where everybody knows you're getting an exception and then all the other players get mad. That's not the way to do it. No, I'm kidding. I don't think that would be fair. I hope it's not too much of a burden. But keep in mind that people who watch live streams and regularly get gem prizes do have a leg up on the competition. So
That's right.
anyway,
Speaking of, is it time to go for the next trivia?
I think we'll do one trivia question as your sign off, if you don't mind. JP will
Okay.
stay with
And
us.
and
He'll
and
be in the
is the
chat. He'll read questions,
is
but he needs to get
is
going.
the does the winner of the trivia, because there'll only be one, get to buy his heroes at the old price? Is that the is that the prize?
You know what? I think I'm losing you, John
No.
Paul. You're going mute.
Uh,
Uh-oh.
you can't hear. All right, you decided what the reward is. I'll
The reward,
I'll
the reward is we're going to do our standard reward of 3 glowstones.
all right, 3 glowstones. So for 3 glowstones, the question is, and top first 3 people to answer correctly
Actually,
will get
this is
3 glow.
if you're going to do the one that we talked about, JP, this is
Yeah.
actually a pretty hard question. So let's actually make it a little more interesting, especially in light of the heroes being more expensive. Let's make it a 25 gem trivia.
Okay.
25 free gems. The top 3 people who get this right. It's a hard question. Get your fingers ready. John Paul trivia question. I'm going to drink some coffee.
Okay. So the the question is, What faction has the least number of ranged cards?
Ranged units. What faction has the smallest number of
Ranged
ranged units?
units.
Keep in mind that a legendary and an epic of the same unit count as two different cards.
Okay.
That's a pretty tough one. Do you see correct answers yet?
Well, I'll let people answer, and then after
Oh,
I
that's
have
a good point.
several
Yeah.
answers in the chat, we'll
I see one answer and it's correct. No
the
copying.
price hike topic still has not been put to rest. Apparently, well, anyway, I'm not asking for an exception. I'm asking for everyone. And Stratocumulus says, remember that players that already had all the gem heroes gain more gems out of the change than people that didn't.
Yeah, but let's also keep in mind
So
that you can earn about 30 to 35 gems totally for free every single day just by playing a minimum. And if you started the game a week earlier than someone else, you have 150 more gems than they do for free. In fact, more than that if you count in arena rankings and so on. I mean, it's fairly arbitrary when you talk about 100 gems here or 100 gems there. And I can tell you that in the future we will be very transparent with price changes and so on. But I think it's pretty obvious why that change was made. And I'm sorry, but it's not really our
all right,
policy to go back and change content that way. We could
yeah,
we
yeah.
could discuss it further on the forums and so on.
All right, all right. We'll table that one. So let's get to the right answer because I have several responses. The right answer is George. For the
I think the right
question, the
answer is
smallest
the
number
Atlantean
of
faction,
ranged
if
units.
I'm not mistaken. I don't think the Atlanteans have any epic. Probably not. They might have rares. I don't think they have any even rare epic or legendary range units. I think they just have a couple uncommons and a common maybe. So I think they have 3 total range units. Is that your answer, JP?
That's what I had written down. But yeah, okay. Well, the Atlanteans have it. So Yubo, you're one
They're
step
basically all
closer
Vanguard
to
units too,
closing
I think, right?
to closing the
Peltast
gap.
and spear throwers. Okay, well that's 25 gems right there, Yubo.
Yeah, you're one step closer to to closing the gap. And yeah, Kong Banjo Master.
Okay,
as
please
well.
let JP know what your in-game names are if it's not obvious, so we can award the prizes.
Yeah, and unless you've already stated it some other time or earlier in the stream, Kong Banjo Master. If that's not your in-game name.
I think it's probably Banjo Master. I know him well. Good fellow. All right. JP, I think we're going to sign off, and I'm going to bring Giannis on for a few minutes. Please, guys, if you have your questions ready, you may start typing them into the chat. I have a couple saved up here. Drum roll, please, for the creator of Storm Wars.
Okay. Yeah, and any issues with any of the questions, streams, trivia, blah blah blah, you can address to George in the forums now that I'm gone, because nobody's going to be monitoring chat.
Are you not going to monitor the Twitch chat at all, JP? You have to head out?
I have to head out, yeah, unfortunately. Okay. So I apologize for that,
That's
guys.
All right. I think, hang on. Well, you know what? I'll just ask Giannis when he's on whether he can monitor that. We'll monitor the Twitch chat. Don't worry. Of course, this is a QA session. All right, JP. Take care, sir.
Peace.
And there we go. I am now going to invite Giannis to join us, everybody. So just give me 1 second here. Hope that didn't catch him too much by surprise. And I will change the name up here.
Hey guys.
Greetings.
Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
All right.
Say hello.
Hello.
I think that's coming through.
Does it come through? Right?
Well, at least my little thing is pinging. Well, everybody, this is our creator and project leader, Storm, as he is known on the forums, but Giannis, as he is known in real life. I hope you guys appreciate the few minutes we'll have, as he is a busy man. But if you have questions and you'd like to send them our way, I'm sure that Giannis would be happy to answer a few of them. I have a couple saved up that I'm going to rattle through. But can you hear me decently?
I'm having some serious audio issues. Like I'm hearing everything twice.
Is that because you're hearing me on the Twitch channel?
Yeah, I think so.
Can you mute the Twitch channel but stay on the Twitch channel?
I try to figure it out.
Okay, sorry about that. It's an echo chamber. In any event, if you actually, Giannis, if you are in the Twitch channel, then you can also see questions that people might type to you, because I think JP fell off. I apologize for that. I can't actually have Twitch up and running while I am also running everything else.
I've got that problem. I don't know how to fix it.
No worries.
All right.
Well, let's go through some of the questions that have already been asked. Also, how are you doing?
Doing all right. I've been busy trying to make the game stable. Obviously, got a bunch of boring content and content-free patches lately.
Yeah.
But, I think it's been making a difference.
It is gradually
If you
getting
guys
there.
hit performance problems or crash problems, make sure to leave me a comment in the forums about it, because I'd like to get it completely solid as much as I can.
And you started a thread for that, I think, right, in the Congregate forums?
I have.
Okay, so just contribute to that. Obviously, you can reach us with email and in-game chat and so on, but if it's consolidated that thread, then Giannis can really focus on it. I think it has been getting better, honestly, just from what people have reported. Okay, well, actually, you sort of covered the first question, which is what's going on with performance. I think that the questions that most people are asking are as to the timing of things like expansion and so on and so forth. And I know that's a nebulous question, but do you want to steer us in a direction?
Yeah, it's going to take time. Obviously, we're still pretty light on engineering resources. It's just me.
I can't do that stuff, guys.
But basically, we've ordered the art. It's in the pipeline. We should have it pretty quickly in the next couple weeks, I think. And in the meantime, I'll be working on card content. I heard you guys talking a little bit earlier about the possibility of some kind of equipment for heroes. I'm pretty excited about that idea, so I might be working on that as well.
Okay. That's a subtle hint. That would be exciting if it were to be a thing. So all this content that's coming and so on, I think that one of the more fun questions that's frequently asked is, do you have a favorite card or a favorite hero as it is right now in the game? And I think that, the hint might be, will there be something that's happening in the near future that further helps your favorite card or favorite hero?
Oh, I probably have some favorite heroes, but since I don't actually actively play in a guild or a crew or whatever, I'm trying to be fair to everybody, right? I wouldn't buff just my own.
I have been accused that I really liked Niven so many times.
I think you did really like
did.
Niven.
Well, okay, thanks. Great. Blow my cover. Yeah, I did. I still do. Now he's a little too strong.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. But can we assume that we're going to try to at least make all the heroes usable and playable? Is that a fair statement?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we talk about that every week, George and I. I have pretty decent metrics on how people are using these things.
Yeah.
So, we look at the guys at the bottom and try to buff them a little bit. And obviously, in certain situations like now where, we might have a problem with one or two heroes dominating everything, we try to change the metagame a little bit to make sure that things are a little more even, because we do want every single hero to be useful.
Yeah. I can only state that, even though, Giannis is only joining us on the occasional live stream, he is on the forums every single day, reading every single comment that you guys leave, as am I, as we all are. So give us feedback. I mean, if you think something's too strong or too weak, put a comment somewhere.
Yep. Start a thread post in the forums. We absolutely want to read that stuff from you guys.
Exactly. Okay. Well, I have several questions. We don't need to go into great detail, but I think people are a little bit curious because I always introduce you as the creator of Warstorm and the creator of, in fact, the genre, which is pretty cool. There's some other games that have existed on Congregate, like Tyrant, but then to a greater extent Berserk, which really had the same format.
Yeah, they actually. It's funny when I joined a company called Challenge Games. I don't even remember the year, but this
A
is
while
where
back.
Warstorm came from. It was a while back, and we had a game in production called Duels, and it was just a simple like character versus character fighting
Right.
thing, RPG. And yeah, I mean, I was a huge Magic nerd, and so I took a bunch of Magic cards and tried to figure out a way to make a asynchronous Magic the Gathering.
Right.
And so I actually have paper versions of all the original Warstorm
Oh, how
cards that
cool.
I printed out on
Oh, wow.
the printer. So yeah,
Uh, I will not offer those without your approval, but
they're probably
they're
worth something
probably
now.
worth something. Yeah, we should put those on eBay. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
That's very cool. So you started out on paper, and what was the idea really the simplicity behind that? I mean, this is the advantage of
Well,
mobile now.
yeah, our whole, back then we were working on short form entertainment for the web. And so the idea was how do you compact something really cool like, a Magic the Gathering game down into something that you can play in 2 minutes against somebody without having to actually take turns. And so that was actually a pretty tricky problem to work out, at that
Yeah,
time. And that's pretty much where Warstorm
right.
came from,
Right.
just
Knowing what
trying
to
to
cut out and
solve
so
that
on.
problem.
Yeah, I mean the one card per turn system as a means of basically game pacing, I guess, keeping the game happening at the same rate for both players, as opposed to the Magic system of resources and sort of powering your own deck. That's probably the real leap.
Mhm.
And so, a corresponding question that people are always asking about Storm Wars is there are some other games out there like Tyrant and Spellstone, which are currently pretty popular, where it's fairly similar, but there is the ability to choose the card
Yeah.
each turn. What do you think are the advantages or disadvantages or differences between that system and what we have?
So it's probably if I give negative feedback about the gameplay of Storm Wars or Warstorm, it was almost always centered around, well, I want to do something in the middle of
Right.
combat, to change the outcome. But by enforcing the game to be, hands off, it condenses something that would take a 10 or 15-minute turn-based experience where you're waiting on your opponent
Right.
to make a decision into something that, gets done in 2 minutes. And so it's kind of like speed magic or something else,
Yeah.
and it takes the focus entirely away from the game play and into the strategy of the deck
Right.
building. And I think in a way that kind of makes us unique. And I know it's not for everybody, but it provides a different type of gameplay
I
experience. And
mean,
I
I can
think,
attest to that, having played tons of games, that this is the game in which, even if I'm on for just 10 or 15-minute session as a player, I am actually running through 30 games. I don't know how many games. And I'm using a lot of different decks in the process, which is why I have currently
yep,
10 different decks or however many with different heroes. So it gives you a much wider range of deck building experience anyway.
yeah. So I mean, it's just a different type of game. I mean, we could consider introducing a turn-based version of this. I don't know how well it would go over, and it would have to be obviously a different type of arena or something,
Yeah.
something worth contemplating for sure, because I know a lot of people do want it. But I kind of like the speed magic aspect of Storm Wars, and
Absolutely.
I'm glad we took that direction.
I tend to agree. But anyhow, please. I mean, maybe my sort of meta comment will be that it's great to be able to talk to a guy who actually designed all this as well, because you can kind of realize as a player that these are not things that were overlooked. I mean, this is an actual consideration, and there are reasons for the different choices in mechanics, and certainly we're aware of the advantages and disadvantages. But anyhow, okay, Giannis. Well, I guess we should wrap this up. If you guys have other specific questions you want to ask, and you want to ask in the Kong chat, for example, I'm sitting in there. I'm going to perhaps ask you one other tough question, just because I keep getting it, which is simply, do you have an idea about what we want to do with the Dragons expansion? I spoke to it a little bit earlier on the stream. It's not particularly obvious, but some people had the idea, for whatever reason, that the dragons were soon going to be part of the basic set, and I basically said I don't necessarily think that's going to be the case.
So if we had a very large population in this game was making a ton of money, that I would happily put everything that was old in the game into the core set. But at this current point, we're still in a kind of a growth mode. We need more players, and in all honesty, the game isn't making a ton of money yet, enough to even afford these expansions that I'm making. So I'm on the fence about what to do about it. I think we might consider putting some of the Dragons cards in the core set. I do know we're going to revamp pretty much every pack in the game in some way, some form.
Okay.
Once we get this new set of cards in, some are going to go for crew rewards, some are going to go probably for some kind of unique tournament-based pack, and we'll probably put the rest in either its own expansion or mix it in with something else. And I just don't really know the answer yet because, as George said earlier, we really haven't made a decision about it. But just understand that if I don't end up putting the entire Dragon pack into the gold packs, we're doing it because, we still need to make money so we can buy more art to make more cards in the future.
Okay, and that's exactly maybe the right note for us to understand that this is our first series of live streams, which hopefully you guys have followed a little bit. It'll be archived on YouTube, but our next step is to try to do this with more streamers and really try to get a bigger footprint, try to get a bigger audience. Which, by the way, the last question that I have here maybe is answered in that, which is, are we going to go to iOS? I won't speak for Giannis, but I think the basic answer to that is similar to everything else that we're saying. This is, unfortunately or fortunately, this is a product that has an economic footprint that helps dictate what we do with the product. So
yeah, absolutely. I mean, if I could hire a team of engineers, you would have iOS in a week.
Clearly.
But unfortunately, there's only me right now still, so I can only go so fast.
Right. So hopefully what we're doing with these streams and a little bit of marketing is we are getting more players. And so that's why we encourage you guys to tell us what you think is important about the game and what should come, but also just be aware that anything that you can do, like following a social network or telling friends about this game to help us, does really help. And hopefully we'll all see you here in a few weeks as we start to take off. That's the goal. Anyhow, if there are other questions you want to ask me immediately in the Kong chat, I will relay them. Otherwise, I think we're mostly wrapping up. I want to thank Giannis for spending a little bit of his busy schedule joining us today.
Yep, got to get back at it. It's good being here, and I'm pretty excited about the future. We seem to be getting some traction slowly on mobile. If you can, we'd love good reviews on mobile. It really helps to cut through the App Store. If you get some star ratings and a couple kind comments from you guys.
Absolutely.
So go check out the Android version if you haven't already, and leave us some reviews. Highly appreciate it.
Absolutely, guys. That's a very good point. And keep playing, keep talking to us, and we will have more announcements, obviously, about the timing of new content as we figure that out. As Giannis said, it's in the works, and when we know what's going to happen, you'll know.
Yep.
Great. Thanks for joining us. That's going to wrap the stream. We will see you next time. There'll be announcements about the next stream probably in 3 or 4 days, but not before then. In the meantime, I hope you guys have fun playing Storm Wars. Thanks, Giannis.
Bye, guys.
Take care.